Hey everyone, Cadaver Kelly here, and in this video I'm going to give a little DIY tutorial on how I made these dark alternative creepy sneakers. I know I said I'd do some DIY and thrifting videos, and I'm not going to be able to get out to the thrift shops for a while, so I thought I'd do a DIY video this week. So these are plain black sneakers that I got off of Amazon for a pretty reasonable price. I'll link everything you need for this project in the description. Full disclosure, I am an Amazon affiliate and those links help support the channel, but obviously you don't need to order this stuff online. You could find plain black sneakers like this in Target or Payless or any store that sells budget footwear. I personally would not thrift sneakers because of the material they're made out of. They tend not to be so great secondhand. And it's pretty rare to find unused sneakers in secondhand shops, but it's not that hard to find shoes like this for a pretty low price. The next supply you'll need is white oil or fabric paint pens. Again, there will be links to the ones I have in the description, but you could pick up something similar at a local craft store. You could also use a small brush and bottled fabric paint, but I think the pens make it a lot easier. The third and final supply you need is some pyramid studs. I'm sure you could probably find studs in a craft store, but I tend to find better deals for these on Amazon and eBay. The studs I'm using are probably about 1 inch wide, but you could use smaller or larger studs. I use the paint pens and studs for a lot of DIY projects, so these were a pretty good investment for me. The first thing I'm going to do is grab one of my paint pens. When you open it up, with this one, not all paint pens will be maybe this apparent, but you can see the tip of it is kind of that yellow, more natural color. You'll have to pump the tip of this pen a few times in order to get the paint to saturate the tip. So I folded up a paper towel pretty thick here, and I'm just going to press down on the tip of the pen until I can get the white paint to saturate the tip. It might take a lot of pressing on the tip of the paint pen to get it fully saturated. I think I probably have it pretty well saturated now, and you can kind of see that the tip is a lot more white now that the paint has come through. So the first thing that I'm going to do is draw a line, and I'm going to take this from roughly the center of the toe of the sneaker all the way up. I might actually start up here and draw it downward. It seems like it might be a little easier with how the tip of the toe is curved. And you can see here the line is pretty light, so I'm just going to go over it a couple times until I get a more visible line. Alright, I feel like that's pretty visible. Once I'm done drawing my spider webs, I probably will go back over it a few times just to make it brighter, but for right now that will do. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to, between the center of the toe here where we drew our line and roughly the edge of the sneaker, I'm going to take another line upwards. And these don't really have to be perfect lines. I mean, you think about spider webs in nature aren't going to be perfect. You could always use a ruler or a tape measure, like a fabric tape measure around, and actually space them equally apart if you wanted to. I personally don't think that's necessary. So again, these are kind of fading. Once I get these webs drawn on, I'm definitely going to go over these lines quite a few more times because this paint, although it looks pretty good on the camera, but this paint actually is showing up pretty light. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just draw a line from the corner here, kind of in between. And as you can see, I have my kind of 3 lines right here. I'm going to draw one more little line in between. So you'll have to kind of figure out, based on how much space you're working with, how many little spider web lines you want. So there you go, you can kind of see the lines there. Now I'm going to go back over them quite a few times with this just to get them as light as I want them to be. Alright, so that's what we're working with so far. Just a bunch of lines. So the next thing I'm going to do is draw a little curved line connecting these 2 lines here. So I'm going to draw a curved horizontal line connecting 2 vertical lines. You see that? I'm going to draw another one, take it from where I ended that last one over the next 2 lines. So we're going to curve downward. You can start to see the web forming. I'm going to do the same thing across. And again, I'm going to continue doing that a couple times across all of these lines until I fill up my spider web. Now I'm personally taking this white line all the way around the tip just because I got some paint on the rubber of the sneaker. But I'm actually kind of liking the way that looks. It kind of gives it like a little more of that contrast, the black on white contrast. Makes the web look a little more complete. And now I'm just gonna go back over these lines a bunch of more times to try and get the white a little bit brighter. Check that out, that's looking pretty good. That's about where I want it to be. Now I'm going to move to the heel of the sneaker. And I'm going to use the same method to draw spider webs on the back of here, but I'm going to kind of have them going the opposite way, where I'm going to, and you know, if you have a seam on the back like this, that'll mark the center for you. So these webs are going to be smaller. All right, so I think you see this like stitching seam up here. I'm going to take a line underneath and take it across just to make this web look a little more complete. See what I mean there? Drew one across. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. So there we go. We've got some lines kind of carved out there. Now I'm going to draw, same way we did on the toe, the curved horizontal lines to connect the 2 vertical lines. And this is how I like to draw my spider webs. I like to have it curving downward towards the center of the web. All right, There we go. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then I'm going to go back over the lines I drew, probably on the toe as well, many more times until I get it as bright as I can, and then we will move on to the studs. All right, so the last and final steps is adding pyramid studs. So you can see these studs have these little prongs. So what you do is press the prongs through the fabric until they push through on the other side, and you want to press them down. And it's pretty important to make sure that they get pressed down all the way, because not only is that going to hold the stud in place and keep it from falling out, but it's also going to keep the prongs from poking your foot when you wear the shoes. So I personally don't have any trouble using my fingernails to do this, but if you have short nails or if you are having trouble, you could always use a screwdriver or needle nose pliers to press down the prongs. And I'm actually going to line the side here with studs. I think I'm going to start right around where this stitching starts here on the sneaker, but based on the shoes that you have, you can pick whatever you feel is the most appropriate point to start with. And see, the issue I'm having here is that this prong is kind of pulled out a little too far. So I've got to bend that a bit. And so now on the inside, I'm just pressing these prongs down, like I said, so the stud holds in place and it doesn't end up poking my foot. So there's one stud down, and I'm going to line them all the way across. These ones that I have, I find them really easy to just maneuver with my fingers. It depends on the stud. I've had ones that were a little more tough to work with, so like I said, you can always use a screwdriver or pliers or a knife to press down the prongs. So I'm just going to continue to stud along the sides here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And after that, I'll essentially have a finished product. So I'm going to pretty much do the same thing on the other shoe. And we'll check back once they're done. So here they are, the final product. These are a great casual shoe. I'll probably be wearing these a lot. I want to end this video with a massive thank you to Bro Jammy for this wonderful artwork upon my reaching 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, Bro Jammy, and thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I hope to see you in my next video. Take care.